Hi, I'm Sophie, and I haven't seen a lot of movies.
Hi, I'm Paul, and I'm here to help with that. And we are
SP Film Viewers.
Hey Soph, would you like some paschetti?
I would love some. You would absolutely hate that, wouldn't you? Really? Like, you're not a big fan of worms, are you?
No, if someone told me my spaghetti was actually worms on a plate, then it'd be an absolute nightmare for me.
You're not really good with spaghetti in general, really, are you? Like, you couldn't go to Italy and do the fork and spoon twirling.
No, I admit I'm a bit like a child. I have to cut mine in little strips,
Yeah.
so it's easy to eat from.
It's like, here you go, baby Paul. We'll have to take, if we ever go to Italy, we'll have to take some scissors with us so you can cut it up when you're in a restaurant. Otherwise, you're going to get it all down yourself.
So today we are going to be talking about What We Do in the Shadows from 2014, and basically the premise is all about these vampires living in a modern day society who like flat sharing, and they're kind of just going about their everyday lives kind of thing. It's going to just
It's like a documentary somewhat,
exactly,
isn't it?
Yeah, like a mockumentary style, similar to what This Is Spinal Tap is, which is like a music mockumentary thing that's quite funny.
This isn't musical, is it?
No.
Oh.
I'm saying it's on the similar vein of it because it's kind of like poking fun at.
Yeah, I get where you're coming from. So, what I thought was really strange with this, and it actually kind of touches base with like the most iconic, for me anyways, vampire film is not Dracula.
Right.
I'd say it's like Twilight is like the vampire film that I've seen. I haven't even seen Dracula.
Maybe one to do in the future, perhaps, but
but I think it's quite bizarre that this one is before. It's after Twilight, and they actually refer to Twilight within this as well, which just seemed a bit bizarre to me because it seems actually a little bit more aged for me than it would like a Twilight film, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the way that they're approaching the vampire. Maybe it's because they're not good looking.
Well, I think
they're like shiny and.
I think the main comedic element they're going with this is kind of like it's like an amalgamation of all different kind of like vampire movies. So you're taking things like the classic vampire, which is Nosferatu, which is the oldest vampire.
Peter.
We've got Peter, yeah, who's like 8,000 years old, so he's very much in that style. Of
he's horrible looking. He looks like he's like dead.
Yeah,
he
yeah.
should die.
Yeah. Vladislav, who is like the more like, I guess your more typical Dracula. It's kind of like all like the passionate kind of
Sex
thing
goddess.
and torture type of thing that vampires might do in like a Bram Stoker's Dracula film is kind of what kind of going on for there. Deacon, who is like the youngest of the group until we get the new one, is kind of like a play on like the Lost Boys kind of. I haven't seen that film, but I know that's kind of like the bad boy kind of rock and roll kind of vampire type of thing. And then Viago, who is kind of more like prim and proper type of one, and more like he wants everyone to his victims to have a good time before obviously the demise. But yeah, it's kind of like everything's got to be nice and tidy and everything.
I don't want any blood spattering.
Yeah.
So, is there anything relating to that within any other films, or is he more just like what they're kind of? Is he their own made up character? Do you think a little bit?
I guess so. They're kind of that more like Victorian style, I guess. But there's no. I don't think for him specifically. There's like a film I could relate to. There's a vampire that's like that, but
what about his New Blood one then? Is no Edward Cullen?
No, that's definitely more up to date in the modern age of
thinking he's a cool vampire.
Yeah.
So I actually learned quite a little bit with about vampires.
Mhm.
So obviously when I watched Twilight, I wasn't actually team vampire or team Edward, as you would say.
Mhm.
I was definitely team Jacob. Obviously, he took his top off. I
Yeah.
was about 16 years old, and have you seen those abs?
I think I kind of remember, but yeah.
He was dreamy and tanned and dark.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you're more on the werewolves side,
Yeah.
which is, we do have werewolves in which we'll get to in a bit. But
So it was quite strange learning these factual things about vampires. So
Mhm.
I didn't know that vampires could not see their own reflection. Like, that was something I'm not aware
that
of.
kind of surprised me a little bit when you said that. I'm thinking, really, you didn't know that? That's quite common for the.
Well, where
that
did
to
you
be in the book.
research vampires? Like, I don't know. Maybe my younger self didn't really think I
Well,
liked the idea of vampires, so I'm not gonna.
I've always liked like horror as a genre.
Mm.
Obviously, like read Goosebumps books when I was younger and things like that. And then
So vampires in those.
Yeah, and
Is
comic
there?
books and stuff like that. So there's all this and stuff from just cartoon shows that they were mentioning vampires, and then that's a thing that's mentioned. You know, like maybe Scooby Doo or something, that kind of thing. But
Yeah, I guess like they had mummies and stuff, don't they?
Yeah,
Scooby Doo.
yeah.
No, I don't think really. My vampire experience is Twilight. I guess I haven't really watched anything else with a vampire that I'm aware of.
Mhm.
So this is like my first kind of other side of a vampire.
Yeah. Okay.
Obviously, in Twilight, they're good vampires. They're like vegetarians. They don't drink blood.
Yeah. How does remind me how that works then? Because
I don't know if
mean,
it's
I've
like
only
animal blood instead. So it might be like.
oh, so it's not really vegetarian then, is it? It's kind of just.
But they're not killing
sourcing.
humans. It's like us just eating meat, isn't it? So I think that's the idea behind it.
Okay.
Anyways, enough about Twilight. And so there was Vampire's Reflections. Obviously, there's the fact that they can turn into a bat, and then kind of I knew that.
Yeah.
But then have bat fights and stuff like that, and
I think that's just more of a comic effect.
Still
really.
be hurt.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's the aging side of things. I didn't know that if you ate a chip, you would like.
Well, not a chip specifically, because I know for a fact that you'd be screwed, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd be so devastated. I absolutely love chips. So this is kind of down to my mum's fault. Like when she was pregnant with me, her craving was chips. So I don't know if that came from me. Probably did. I was like, Mummy, feed me chips. And when I came out of the womb, if I could have had chips, I probably would have done.
That'd be a bit grim.
So the thought of not being able to eat food, which I love, like
yeah, exactly.
That's a definite downside of being a vampire.
Yeah, which our friend Nick in this is kind of realizes that he thinks it's super cool at the beginning. It's like, well, I can fly around, you know, be like badass and thinking it's all
being immortal and
yeah.
stuff. But then he kind of gets that horrible awakening, doesn't he? A little bit.
Yeah.
That I don't know. Would you want to be immortal?
I don't think I would really, because they kind of touch upon it in later on in the film. It's kind of like, but it's the same for anything really. You know, you kind of realize that you're gonna watch everybody you love around you just perish.
Unless you just bit them as well. Like, that's what I'd do.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, right, okay, I'm a vampire. Now everyone else that I know is going to be a vampire, so that my loved ones would never die. That would be like.
But then there's sort of a moral thing there, is it? Because then you're taking that liberty away from them, because they might not want to live forever.
Well, no, I'd talk to them about it. I wouldn't just like
if they
just
said
go
no,
bite them.
You said like, no, I'm just going to kill you anyway, and then you'd be a vampire with me, and there's nothing you can do about it.
No, because then they'd hate me, so there'd be no point.
Yeah.
But if I was a vampire, would you be a vampire?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay, that's all right then.
If it push comes to shove, I hope that never happens. But
well, speaking of which, we did see a bat, didn't we, the other night?
Yeah, he called me downstairs and said, "Paul, there's a bat in the conservatory." We're not in the conservatory. From the conservatory, you can see we've got like a new glass ceiling now. We can proper see it like circling around our garden and the neighbour's garden.
God, it made me feel dizzy. It was like, whew, it goes really fast. Like what it was doing, I don't actually know, but it was proper flapping around everywhere. Thinking, oh, but if it does go in your house, there's not much you can do about it, is there? Because they're a endangered species.
Did you recognise the character of Viago? Obviously the more prim and proper one.
There's a name that, well, there isn't a name at all. I'm lying to you, but there's somebody who's popping into my head, and I don't even know if I'm right.
Okay, go on.
Is it the guy from the IT crowd?
Sorry, no.
Is he not?
Not even close, no.
Wait, let me. Do you know who I'm meaning, Morph? Is it Morph?
No, Moss.
Moss.
I don't remember him in IT Crowd. That would have been pretty funny.
I knew who I meant. Give me a clue.
He's been in Jojo Rabbit. Does that not give you a clue?
No. All I remember is Hitler and the little boy. He's not Hitler.
Yeah, he's the Hitler,
No.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
No, he's not.
He is.
He don't look like him.
Well, because he can dress up, innit? But
So which one is he meant to be?
the one who's like laying down the paper before he bites.
The main lead?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Why?
He looks darker in this role, to me.
Right. I think he's probably the same. Well, of course, maybe he's going to be, because if he's trying to portray Hitler in that one, Hitler didn't have dark skin, did he?
No. So that's what I'm meaning. They've done that really well, because that, to me, I would never have thought that. I don't know, they look like two different people, but maybe it's just a dress-up styles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know I liked him, though. He was quite comical. I think out of all of the vampires, he was like my favourite.
But he also directed Thor Ragnarok.
He's a good man.
And he co-directed this one as well, so it's kind of like
the humour for this is not up there for me, personally. So, like, when you're kind of comparing it to Thor Ragnarok, and there's so every time I do laugh.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I watched it recently, and that was really...
It was really funny.
It being,
like, just the opening scene when he's stuck at Thor's in the cage.
Yeah.
And he's like...
And he's doing the spinning round in the chains and
yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
It's just so funny. And there's a line he says, and it's just classic. And then it's like, it does feel like one of those kind of middle stage films. For me, it's not a high end.
Yeah, I wanted to really see what you thought of this one in terms of the humour level, because it wasn't like really stupid humour. And because we've been watching like the US Office and stuff, and thinking like that kind of like mockumentaries, like handheld camera type style, and talking to the camera and stuff, and then cutting away into other things. If that kind of gelled with you, or I mean, you weren't like laughing your head off at
no, I wasn't
or anything.
But I don't really think generally there was that much humour for me personally within this. I think like if you're comparing it to The Office can sometimes get me into stitches. Yeah. Like just certain lines that like
or situations.
Yeah. Oh, we watched one tonight and it was just brilliant. I love it when it's kind of like unexpected.
Yeah.
Because like the couple of, obviously some of them are a bit mundane and they're just the same kind of things. And then you get one where it just really does make you laugh. Yeah. I think I didn't really understand where this film was going initially.
To be honest, I'm the same boat with you on that, because I've watched this various times now and I'm not particularly struck up on the humour aspect of it either, because people are saying like this is one of the most the modern age like comedy films, but
I mean we're old.
No, because there's other stuff I find really funny I can go back to, but there's something about it that doesn't like I feel like it's fairly weak, and I get what it's trying to do. It's kind of like a play on the whole like what vampires are in a like modern situation, and they're kind of just like talking about things that are fairly mundane, and that's funny for us.
But the pacing of the film seems a little bit slow.
It kind of seems to stretch out what could be like 30-minute episodes or something like The Office. Although saying that they did end up doing, on like the BBC, they did end up doing like a British version of What We Do in the Shadows, which works because it's in those 20-30-minute episodes. And to be honest, I find that a bit, from what I've seen, found that a bit funnier than what this had to offer. Nothing to say that anything in this is rubbish or anything like that.
I just don't think it just
seems to like stretching the material a bit too
thin. There's not enough content for you to actually think it's a film. And I know that sounds really bad, but it does feel that way. Like initially I'm watching it and I'm thinking probably halfway through and I don't really know
where it's going,
what's the purpose. I really did think Jackie might have been a little bit more of a character for me. I don't, because she was like Deacon's familiar. Initially, she was doing all these chores and stuff. And obviously then Nick saw that and was like, right, I'll bite her and she can be a vampire because he's new and he's been a bit of a rebel. And he gets shamed from the group. And I think then for me, I think it should be kind of then you've got some more characters coming in, character development.
Yeah.
And it's like, it kind of gets a bit better, but then there's this whole thing where Nick's friend, I forgot his name now. Stu, is it? Why do I want to say Stu?
Yeah.
Stu,
yeah.
he seems to end up being the main character out of all of these in the end.
Because, yeah, it's kind of like him bringing like technology and stuff into their lives, because obviously they've had no real need for that kind of stuff, and it's kind of like bringing them up to speed on like all the mobile phone, the computer, and all that kind of stuff they've missed out on.
But gonna play a bit of devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Do we need Stu? Why couldn't they just bitch Stu? You know, like, could we just get rid of Nick completely then? Is he like really...
The way that it comes into play with Stu is because we've got the first instance with the werewolves, and they're quite funny characters because they're kind of like, oh, we're werewolves, not swearwolves.
Yeah,
kind of
and they're like, I think like they want to do good, so they're kind of like don't want to eat people, so they chain themselves up to trees and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I actually kind of prefer the werewolves yet again.
So that, yeah, interesting, because again, there's the funny thing of like, so, oh, you just bought that shirt, just take your clothes off before you, which I would probably do as well, because like, yeah, because that's how they obviously transform into, and they rip the clothes, as you know from like
not made of money, are they?
Yeah, so it's like, yeah.
But I feel like you get that kind of more personal effect with those, because it's like they must be able to go to work and stuff, and it's like, well, I know this might sound daft, but what do these vampires do for a living? Like, they just roam around the flat doing naff all. How do they afford the house unless they've paid off? How do they get... Obviously, they don't need food because...
Yeah.
But, you know, they're going out to drinking and stuff, and it's like pretending to, like, socialise and things. It's like, well, how can you afford to do that?
That's a very good question. It's never really touched on, is
No,
it?
but then the werewolves are like, oh, well, I don't want to rip my shirt again because I'm going to have to pay for it again. It's like, well, we never really touch on how these vampires exist.
Yeah, in modern times, yeah.
And that's what they're going for.
Which you could get away with if they did mention about, like, they were using computers, could it be like telephone banking or something like that? You know, where you didn't have to see face to face.
It'd be interesting for them to be in a work environment, you know, kind of take it.
Yeah, like vampires in the office.
Yeah, I feel like there's so much more they could have done with this. And it has potential, but I just think it didn't reach that full level.
No, I get what I mean, yeah. But I think it's because Stu gets attacked by the werewolves at the end, and then he becomes...
whose fault is that? Like, why did the vampires could smell the werewolves? Well, leave the werewolves alone. Don't torment them.
Yeah.
Stu would have never got hurt. But to be fair, why the hell they took him to a party with...
Yeah. The what's it, ball or whatever it was, yeah.
Masquerade, yeah. With everybody that's like zombies and vampires and...
He's asking for trouble.
Yeah. You know, rosy red cheek Stu, just everybody's wanting to eat him. I wouldn't have even wanted to go if I were him. Like, why did he even want to go? Ridiculous. But I just want to touch upon, like, for you on character-wise, would you have a favourite character?
I guess it would be Viago, because I do like Taika Waititi and his work anyway, so he comes across as the best one for me anyway.
Yeah, because he does fall in love, doesn't he, as well?
Yeah, it's quite sweet.
He is. He's the most endearing one.
But the reason he hasn't managed to find love at the age, a reasonable age, is because his servant shipped him to New Zealand, but by the wrong postcode or delivery service, so that he ended up being delayed. And then he's, you know, the woman he fell in love with or wanted to turn to a vampire ended up married, and then he's like, well, he's kind of like be the good guy and stepping back from him. So which is, it was quite nice, because he could have just been a dick and just gone for it, like maybe one of the other two might have done in the flat. But
well, Vladislav would have done.
Yeah.
You know, for a fact he would. And Deacon, he seems like a little bit of a kind of scumbaggy character.
Yeah.
So if you had, let's say you loved me for a long time, and you were shipped in, and you got shipped Coffin got shipped to the wrong place, and I fell in love with somebody else, would you wait for me? And then, even though, would you be wanting to then date a wrinkly Sophie?
I think the correct answer is yes.
But is it the truth?
But then, would you want to be a vampire at like 80.
No, I'd want to die.
Yeah.
I know it sounds daft, like not mean I want to die right now,
No.
but you know, like
Of course not.
I've lived the course. Like if I was at this age we are now, then yeah, make me a vampire.
Because you do also see like young girls who are a bit like vampires, and
Oh,
they're
I
like,
wouldn't want to be that young and be a vampire, would you?
That'd be pretty rubbish because all you can do is you easily get sustenance because it's like, look, fishing for stalkers on line, like pervs and whatever, and you just get your blood from them, which you do see that happen. You'd want to be like late 20s, 30s, really.
Yeah, you would. Definitely. I think maybe even 40s you could get away with it.
Yeah.
But I think after that you'd probably be like, well, you've seen enough life that you might not want to kind of think about living here forever.
Yeah.
So vampires can die, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a thing of not, obviously Peter, sadly, we lose him, which not so sadly.
He meets his demise quite tragically, like the sunlight like literally sets him ablaze down in the basement. This is really because of Nick telling somebody about, I'm a vampire, and then some guy at the club says, I'm a vampire hunter, and he thinks nothing of it, think it's just doing as a joke, and then this guy turns out to be a vampire hunter, and he kind of breaks into the lair. So that's kind of why he was like banished.
Yeah, shamed. But they still wanted to be friends with Stu.
Yeah.
It seemed a little bit bizarre, but I think they used Stu a little bit. Because obviously for what knowledge they could glean really from this whole new technology that...
Yeah, exactly.
I did think it was quite sad that they can't see sunlight or daylight, like the thought of not being able to see the sun. So they actually were watching clips on YouTube.
Yeah.
Which is like that, it's still not the same, like just having a nice summer's day and the warmth on your skin.
Yeah.
Like I think I would, if I was being a vampire, I would really miss that.
It's kind of a tragic life when you think about it, really.
And you can't eat chips, so it's like, don't make me a vampire.
But in terms of the scenery, what house, the flat that they're living in, it's pretty. I feel it's pretty on point for like a dark, dingy pit for them, and like the old style.
Is it flat? I didn't think it.
That's what they keep referring it to. Yeah.
It doesn't look like a flat though, does it? To me, it looks like a big enough house, like. To really,
yeah, no.
And I don't really feel like I get much out of the documentary that they are actually doing in the end. Like, I know it sounds really daft, like who would watch it? And I'm thinking, well, me, obviously, because I've been put through watching this vampire documentary, but...
I mean, who's the real target audience?
Yeah, like, if they were going to actually do that. And to be fair, you wouldn't actually do that, would you, if you were a vampire?
Unless that's where they're getting the money from. They're like a bit, right, we'll do this for a little...
little side check.
Yeah. One thing I did like, again, it seemed like a lot of the, like, particularly intro bit was kind of like seeing all, like, commissioned pieces of art that have been done to represent, like, the vampires through the past lives, like on old styley sketchbooks from, like, Renaissance stuff, and then, like, oil paintings and stuff. That's, like, quite detailed, and they've gone in depth with all that as well.
Yeah, so I think really they've got the set and they've got the characters. I feel like it's a story that really kind of needs to be driven a little bit more. Like, if I was a director, I'd be like, okay, this sounds really good, but we need to put some more content in.
Yeah.
So, towards the ending, Stu becomes a werewolf.
Yeah.
I don't get why Nick just doesn't make him a vampire, to be fair. But, personally, I think I'd prefer to be a werewolf. I'm assuming you can eat food?
Yeah, I think so. You're pretty much normal aside from the fact that...
When the moon comes out.
For however many days it is, yeah. So
apparently there's meant to be a pink moon tonight again. See if we can see that.
Didn't see one yesterday.
No, that's true.
But you said you weren't too struck up on the werewolf designs though when they actually transformed.
Oh, they were rubbish. They were absolutely rubbish. Like, then I was referring to Twilight thinking, right, okay, wait a minute. At least it looks like a werewolf. Like Twilight does look.
They just look like wolves, I think. They don't look like, because...
It's true, yeah.
Because they're really going for the humanoid standing up.
But it literally looks like a person in a costume.
But,
I thought we'd
budgetary reason.
Bypass that, like with Godzilla kind of... I feel like something could have been a bit more realistic. Like, there's been loads in Harry Potter, obviously.
I mean...
Werewolf with Lupin.
But again, that's more CGI, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think that would have worked. I know budget-wise, maybe.
I mean... we haven't got around to seeing it, but like American Werewolf in London, that is probably one of the best examples of like practical effects for a werewolf. So that does look like a real, actual, but monstrous wolf, basically.
Yeah.
That fit the description of that. But I mean, the kind of like
It's a shitty
choppy blurred anyway.
angle.
So
it's like one
he
of those...
kind of gets away with it, and with the budgetary reasons, he can kind of.
I don't really like that scene, to be fair, just because of the camera work. It makes me feel a bit sick.
Yeah.
Like, it's just kind of like, oh, we'll wiggle the screen because this looks rubbish. We'll try and make it look realistic. And it's like...
Yeah, because of obviously the fact that it's somebody running away from the werewolves because, you know, they can't control themselves. Yeah.
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 But in the end, they kind of have that sense of where the vampires and werewolves... Obviously, Stu's, they think he's passed away.
Yeah.
And they're mourning for him until he appears at the door with some scratches on his face and is smelling a little bit like a werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
But they embrace that community then.
So, like, oh, buddy.
Yeah.
No.
It's not a bad way to end, I guess.
No. Because I don't really know in this like lore of where the whole vampires versus werewolves thing came from, really.
I don't. Like, the only thing I just know about Twilight, like, that's...
There must be something from stories or whatever that pinpoints that exactly, really. But
if anyone does know, just please let us know. So, because I'm always interested in Googling and figuring out things. And I'm definitely interested because obviously I learn a lot because I don't know that much.
There's a whole thing about this other lore that they've got going on within the film is this, that Vladislav has this rivalry with what he's coined as the Beast.
No, I thought this was a man, like, initially.
Obviously, that's where it's leading you up to believe, but then it's kind of like, oh no, it's just my ex.
Yeah, and they end up getting back together anyways. It must be one of those on and off relationships. Yeah. But she's the one that kind of gets the masquerade ball star guest kind of thing, isn't she?
Yeah.
And obviously, that kind of really impacts him. How anybody would feel when they're meeting their ex, they want to look their best. And you're not going to lie, are you?
No.
You would. You'd be like, well...
And then I think he kind of really somehow, like, really deteriorates for whatever reason, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. But I guess that is true. Like, people do, like, the thought of meeting your ex could make you feel that way.
But not to that extreme.
No, obviously you wouldn't physically be deteriorating, but mentally.
That's a good analogy, I suppose, for that. What I'm interested to know, actually, what you thought of, like, where it was set location-wise in New Zealand. Make it something a bit different, because obviously it's not like, oh, it's the States or set in the UK or something.
I feel like, I know this sounds horrible, because we're so based around the flat, I don't think it mattered where we were based. It's not like you saw anything iconic within it. Like, you know, to know that, like, oh, like, if you were in New York, you know, you would kind of see something pillar to that.
Yeah.
And you'd know it, whereas I feel like if they hadn't said it, I wouldn't have known.
Not even with, like, people's accents and stuff. Or would
I'd have probably thought they were Australian.
Yeah, it's a dangerous thing to do. You can't be confusing Kiwis with Aussies.
To be fair, they do sound a little bit like us, but they've just got a bit more of a twang. Like, which can be a bit grating.
Right.
Personally. Just like, speak properly. What are your thoughts though? Did you enjoy the fact that it was in New Zealand, or am I just being a little bit biased or not really feeling like I saw?
It's something a bit different because, like I say, we normally see most of these things taking place in it's either the States or London, really, isn't it? Pretty much.
Nothing wrong with good old London.
We're not in London, are we, though?
I know, but I still...
About a Yorkshire vampire?
I feel like it'd be like with a flat cap and some sheep. Bit of a farm. There's nothing wrong with that, though. I would watch that.
Yeah, what's going on?
Oh, no.
Oh, no, yeah.
I think we can go probably onto the scorings.
Yeah, if you've got no other notes.
I feel like I want to say more, but I think the scoring will probably depict it. Even though I'm trying to think right now, racking my brain of what I should score this. Because it's one of those where I don't think I'd be like, oh, I really want to put that on again.
I know what you mean.
it's going to be one of those that I've watched and then it's going to go in my head and it's going to archive for a couple of years and then it's going to drop out probably. And you'll be like, oh, do you remember when you watched? I'm like, what's that film? That's how I feel like this effect on me personally is going to go.
Okay. But I guess this doesn't prompt you to want to check out the television series?
Only from the fact that you've said it is better, I would give it a go. And obviously if it's a little bit funnier.
And it's got actors that you might know, and it being set in
Is it
the UK.
Martin Freeman in it?
No, he's not. No.
Shame. I really like him.
But it has got somebody in from the IT crowd who's in it there. It's not...
Is it that other guy, the other IT man?
No, it's the boss, like the...
Oh, I don't like him. Oh.
Who does the money supermarket, that kind
Yeah. No, but I'm all up for this. I'm always up for giving anything a go. And that's why we do these podcasts. And hopefully somebody appreciates what we say. Or just thinks, this girl knows nothing. Probably that one.
But I know I really wanted you to see what your take on this was, really, based on, for the comedy aspect. And maybe there's something I'm sort of maybe missing, I don't know. But I kind of figured you probably wouldn't be, too struck up on it. But
well, comedy? If you can't find it funny, then nobody can, because you've got no chance with me, have you? I'm like a dead soul when it comes to comedy. I'm like, this is not funny. Poor Paul could be laughing, and I'll look at him like, have I missed something? What was the joke?
Okay, well, do you have a score in mind then for us?
I know this sounds really daft. I can't remember what I scored last week, so I'm trying to think of what we even watched. That's so bad. Can't have been that great, can it? Oh, Back to the Future, there we go. No wonder I put it to the back of my future, because it was... it was just so long. Because you made us do a trilogy. Definitely go check it out, though, because it does sound really good.
Well, we talked about the third one for longer than the rest of them combined.
Because the third one really got me down.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So please go check that out.
Yeah, do. So, I feel like this is going to be a lowish score. I feel like I can't give it a high one.
No, I thought that.
I don't really want to slag it off too much. By the way, Americans or anybody who doesn't know what slag it off is, it's kind of ripping it off, kind of being harsh. Didn't know if that's because we came across a word the other day that I said don't bock it, and you were like, you didn't know what that meant, and I'm like,
I don't think anybody knows that.
I thought everyone knew that. If you do know that, we might have to do something back, because I want to know if people do know this
you may
word.
as well explain what that is to people, because...
Oh, so bock it is don't jinx it, kind of don't...
But it must be a more Yorkshire term, because I've lived here for best part of my life, and I've never heard anybody say that before. So, I don't know.
It is an urban dictionary one. You can Google it. So it's a bit of slang, I guess. Yeah. But yeah, it is there, and it is a word. Anyways, scoring. I can't give it any higher than above a 5.
So it's a 5 then. Middle.
Middle. I'm being kind. I'm being generous there. To be fair, I think it's one of those where it's got something. It's got potential.
Yeah.
Did I love it? No. Will I watch it again? No.
But you think it would work maybe like a 3-part series on TV or something?
Yeah, I think if I stepped away a little bit from it and it wasn't so long, I think it would be more manageable in bite sizes.
No pun intended.
No, it would. Yeah. Oh, I'm so good at podcasting, aren't I? So, over to you, Paul, with your scores.
For me, I can only really give it a lowish score as well, unfortunately, as much as people might be, oh my God, what are you talking about? You missed such and such about this. But it really, I've tried so many times now to go watching this, and it's just, I just don't see what the mass appeal is overall, really. It's not inherently fun. There's bits where I did chuckle, but nothing more than not rip-roaringly funny or anything like that. So I can admire, though, obviously the whole setup with the costume design and the mise-en-scène of everything. That works well in its favour. And you got some clever shots, like with them, like having fights and like on the ceiling, because obviously like vampires can do like kind of do that kind of weird like supernatural stuff.
Mm-hmm. And to be fair, trying to get rid of a reflection and then trying to hold something up, that's quite
all those kind of
camera work
nods and everything. So it's got that in its favour, but I think I'm going to put it at a 6.5.
You're a bit more generous than me. You are. Yeah. I think story for me is one of those things where I'm driven by a story and a connection, and if I can connect to it, if it makes me cry, even better, or laugh, definitely amazing if it can make me laugh. And this I just felt was a bit mediocre.
Yeah, so the story does lay it down a little bit, because it's kind of like spreading the butter too thin on the bread.
Yeah,
with it,
which nobody wants. Like, give me the butter.
yeah, give me the meat.
Yeah.
And the characters work well enough with one another. There's no problem there. You don't find them too irritating or too boring or anything like that. Obviously, I know the joke is kind of like these vampires are in the modern day society. They've got to deal with all this stuff that we have to deal with day to day. Like washing the dishes, kind of stuff.
Like that works, I guess. But I think it's still, even though you get a bit of the background of these vampires, if any of them died, I really don't think I'd care. Like, no one. And it's like, well,
you don't feel sad at all.
No, like Peter went and we're like, oh, well, he looked dead anyways.
Yeah.
So it's fine. And I think that's
probably why he went, really.
Character building where I think they could have done a lot more with these interesting characters that they had.
So I think that'll do it for this episode.
Yeah, thank you so much for everyone who's listened or will be listening or has listened to us others. So definitely check them out. Paul will tell you where we are.
Yes, I will. We are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podbean, and pretty much anywhere else you might get your podcasts from. Like your Google Podcasts and all that jazz.
We are everywhere.
Trying to expand as much as we can. And of course, we're on the social media platforms of Instagram and Twitter most frequently. We are under the handle SP_film viewers.
And that does not stand for salt and pepper. Salt and pepper's here. Because people might not know that. Obviously, we do say hi. Our names are Sophie and Paul.
Yeah.
So that's obviously, I'm the S, he's the P.
PP. Which is also my actual initials.
PP, yes it is.
PowerPoints.
I was more thinking PP, as in like PP.
And of course, if you do like our content, be sure to buy us a coffee. Nice people.
Yes, please, or a hot chocolate. But yeah, no, and leave us some feedback and comments. Any films you want us to review. I'd be open to taking on some other content and options that even you haven't considered, possibly, Paul. So
yeah, I try my hardest to scout through what's on my shelves and what's on the streaming services and stuff. But there's sometimes things. Oh yeah, there's that great film I want to cover. But
yeah, and maybe if it's something that me and Paul, neither of us have seen, that's always something to go for.
Something as well. Leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts would be very much appreciated also, to help us, be discovered by other people.
I mean, like, people are missing out if they're not listening to us, obviously. You just want to share it. That's what we...
That is what we are trying to do.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah. So thank you very much, everybody, for listening, and we will speak to you next time.
Yeah, thank you so much for listening, and we will speak to you next time. Take care now.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.